Oh, good afternoon. Can you hear me? We can't hear you. Try it on the website.
That's exactly what I'm doing. Just waiting. I've got no sound, unfortunately.
Can you hear me? We can't hear you. It's not there. You can hear me. Oh, okay.
Okay.
We have no sound from you, and there's no sound live.
Yeah, we'll talk. We can chat.
Yeah. Okay. So, hi, Josh.
Hi. You're all right.
So this is the Birmingham end of the production studio. Sofa has just expanded ever so rapidly. So how are you?
I'm not too bad, mate. How you doing on this? Is it still raining? Potentially dreary Friday. I haven't looked up.
It's okay. It's all right.
Middling Friday.
Middling Friday. Yeah, I've got to go and charge my car.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I should probably check mine as well, actually, thinking about it. But if I go any further, we'll kind of briefly do some description. So I'm 24. I've got light blonde hair, and in the theme of kind of dressing up to stay in, Emily, my little sister, and I have been listening to a couple of different musical soundtracks this week. One of which was Hamilton. So that kind of inspired me to crack out my Hamilton T-shirt from when I went and saw it in London last year.
Oh, is that it? Okay, well,
yeah.
So over to me then. So I'm Robin. I'm the business director of Together and one of the many co-hosts of Together Lockdown TV. I am today. Last week I was a swimmer. Today I am a swimming official with clipboard and stopwatches. So get ready to do something quickly. I am in my mid-50s. We're still not hearing anything from the London studio, unfortunately, but we all fill in because that's the kind of guys we are. I'm very filled in, actually. It's got to be said. I never used to be. I was a Paralympic athlete once upon a lifetime. And for those of you who've been watching recently, normally I am unshaven, and today I look like I've been hit with a cricket bat because I shaved and now have the worst red rash ever. My extremely lovely, helpful wife decided I should address the situation with some cover-up makeup, and now I look like I fell into a powder puff as well. So if you're wondering what this strange combination of look is, for those who are able to see, that is it.
I think for those of you that are watching at home, rest assured it looks far worse in person.
Thanks, Josh.
It's all right, mate. Like I said.
And the hair.
Sometimes supportive.
Yeah. And so now the hair. Now, obviously, having had short hair for eternity, and now long hair due to lockdown and wishing to have hair before I have none, I'm realising that actually it takes ages for hair to dry. And I've forgotten all about that.
With the kind of the length of... Yeah, it's always give Emily a hard time, like after swimming training, that she takes about 3.5 years to come out of the changing room, and still has wet hair when she comes out. I'm not entirely sure how she manages to still have wet hair after all that time, but she does.
Okay, so whilst we feel and wonder what's going on, we could look at some of the things that are going on. So Together, for those of you, anyone who is new, Together 2012 is an disability arts organisation primarily that was born out of the 2012 Paralympic Games and surrounding celebrations and goings on. And yeah, since then, we've just gone onwards and upwards, and we are now an established part of the Arts Council portfolio, which is fantastic. And the aim of Together is to bring participative arts opportunities to as many disabled people, and those that know them are in the kind of East London area, but we do spread out further than that, as the fact that we are based in Birmingham is testament to that. And actually, I think the use of the internet will. I think there are going to be lots of positives that are going to come out of this lockdown period, with, for example, people changing their working practices, many more people perhaps staying at home to work more often, because it shows that you can. But also, I think in many ways we're kind of delivering a new sense of community. Lots of people are joining WhatsApp groups, for example, who wouldn't otherwise have done so, and kind of catching up with old friends and sharing stories with each other. Lots of reverie, lots of looking at the past, and then coming up with new stuff.
Yeah, I think we've kind of talked about it a little bit previously on the show, but the kind of change to everything being digital, everything being online, not just work, but in terms of shows and kind of expositions and things like that, are allowing people that kind of maybe wouldn't have been able to access those resources or those experiences previously, and kind of now all of a sudden partake in those events, and hopefully kind of that continues. We've talked about it a little bit before, but the new normal, as it kind of keeps being thrown around in the news and things, that we're now in a new normal, but kind of until things can return to the old normal, hopefully.
Some of the old normal. I think a lot of the new normal's great, actually. Okay, so we're just having a scene from Ju, and still no sound, I'm afraid. So we're going to have to, we can fly solo. Or have a pet. Solo as a duo.
Solo as a duo.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, actually, losing some of the normal, I think in many ways it's been quite a leveler, this experience, that everybody is experiencing, very similar circumstances that they would normally have thought wasn't about them, which is really quite interesting.
Yeah, kind of giving people an appreciation of what it is like for those people that can't go out, or aren't able to kind of independently experience things. I think there's been quite a lot of stuff around kind of in the news, and people talking about how it's kind of broadened their kind of perspective on society, and what other people kind of potentially have to face on a day-to-day in their normal
when
lives.
there isn't a pandemic.
Yeah, when there isn't a pandemic. So hopefully that kind of social understanding will kind of continue once this is kind of finished.
Okay, so just to move a little bit further into what we had planned to talk about today, although we may be lacking in some of the info needed. It is, of course, May Day, and for whatever reason, this year May Day holiday is next Friday, which is really bizarre. I'm not
rather
sure.
Than this Friday.
Well, rather than next Monday. It's always the first Monday in May. So why it isn't this Friday, I'm not sure. But it is next Friday for those of you who thought you might have to go to work next week, and especially if you work in a bank, you won't. Right, Ju, do we have sound now? No.
Unfortunately, no.
Still no sound. Don't go, because we are going to describe now Ju and Julie for those who can't see the screen. So they are smiling wisely. Oh, well, they were. And And they are. In fact, we were about to move into the next item on the agenda. So Ju and Julie are dressed in their folk in motion gear. They're wearing their hats, their blazers. So Ju is wearing a bowler hat, I guess, of some sort. Yes, I'm not very good on hat styles.
Oh, okay.
Well, yes, bowler. We're going with bowler. Bowler hat with a beautiful glittery silver ribbon and butterfly or bow around the rim. Complemented below that with black rimmed glasses, a black sparkly necklace, and
On scarf, but
sorry, yes, scarf. It's not a necklace. It's a big necklace.
it's a very big necklace. It's one of those warmth necklaces that people like to wear during the winter.
And a blazer with red trimming around the collars and red buttons, and smiling
Through the technical difficulties.
Easily, yeah, smiling easily. And then next to Ju is Julie, also wearing a bowler hat. This one has a green ribbon and a laurel or some kind of. I'll say it's a laurel and something on the back that I.
You got an approving nod from Ju and laurel.
And a together pin on the back of the badge, and is sporting a delightfully pistachio green t-shirt, folk in motion t-shirt, and a leather perhaps waistcoat. I was doing so well as well. Faux suede waistcoat we'll go with. No. Anyway, it's brown. It's kind of, it matches the green and has thongy stitching. That doesn't mean it's a thong. It means it's a thong stitch. Wearing a thong around your waist, your waistcoat would probably.
I like that you ran out of colour options and you just went with it matches.
Well, yeah. So anyway, now what's going to happen now is that we're going to continue presenting, and every time we get it wrong, Ju's going to laugh and shake her head at us. So today would have been the very first time that the Folk in Motion team were going to do a live dance, their first ever live May Day performance, which has been absolutely ages in the planning. I mean, years in the planning, and of course that's now not happening.
Yeah.
But despite that, we're gonna. For those of you who don't know, Folk in Motion. If you look on the website, Folk in Motion is part of the Together Arts program, or so is linked to the Together Arts program, and is a dance troupe where all of the dances are performed by people in wheelchairs, either independently, electrically, or with assistance, and they follow a prescribed pattern of moves. This is based on very old English dances that are kind of that were used to tell stories. So each dance reflects part of a storytelling, and there's a really famous English dance aficionado, and his name's gone right out of my head. Finger spell it.
You get some BSI into the show. We can.
Anyway, okay. It's gone. Anyway, and kind of it's what it is taking some of these old English dances, and what would have been village dances performed in localities, and would have had very close kind of links and interpretations to local events, and they've been interpreted to be done by people who are using wheelchairs, and so often they're very specific hand movements, which a lot of people are able to do, which make up part of the dance. I know you don't know what I'm talking about, Josh, so I'm just going to keep going. Well, you know, I mean, but I had this. Thankfully, I had a pre-conversation with Ju, who was planning this all to see how much I remembered. And today would also have been the beginning of Newham Heritage Month, which, well, I guess as it says on the tin, is a kind of month worth of celebrations and events and exhibitions to celebrate the heritage of Newham.
Yeah.
But that has now been put back a month. Okay, yeah, now I'm getting the nods of approval are coming through. And it says, I have an agenda, and it says, and lots more folk content. That's where I'm afraid at this juncture, we might run into a slight snag. What do you know about folk?
There's a wheelchair dance group called Folk in Motion that use electric wheelchairs, manual wheelchairs, and assisted propulsion.
Again,
due to their thirst.
now I hope, Ju, that you can write backwards so that when you put it on the screen, it's the right way round.
One thing we could potentially try, depending on feedback, is if we just phone Ju and have Ju on in our studio.
Ah.
And at least we might be able to then get some sound from Ju, and she can rescue me from my Workers' Day. Is that Workers' Day? Yes.
Yeah, it does say Workers' Day, but again, quick, Josh, Google. Right. So
yes, if you kind of give her a ring quickly and then see if you can at least kind of get some sound in the studio. International Workers' Day.
Oh, of course.
I can't believe you didn't know that, mate. So slack, honestly.
Which obviously in somewhere like Newham, having one of the, if not the greatest, one of the most diverse collection of citizens.
Yes,
that'll do is the word I'm looking for.
Residents.
Residents, citizens. Being, within that, because within the Newham area, it obviously has the Olympic Park and the International Quarter. So there is actually a huge amount of internationalness. And I think actually, I would hope, so therefore, that under the Newham Heritage banner, there's a kind of, I imagine there's a big recognition of that, the internationality, and what all those different cultures and experiences bring to the area. So it's a way of, correctly seeing it as a really positive. It's added value, having this hugely diverse,
the kind of richness of all those different kind of cultures and experiences, and to kind of all be in a fairly small kind of geographical area. Like you say, kind of the diversity within Newham is huge. Go on.
Okay, I guess my turn. My turn.
You keep saying all the points. So
yeah. I guess one of Together itself is a very diverse organisation, and whilst for those who are visually aware of who's on screen, it is for white people. It's not a reflection actually in any way of the kind of general membership of Together. It's more, I think, a reflection of who has the gear to be able to do what we're doing. I think one of the things that what we've looked at, is how to, even at this time, to take arts activities into people's homes who don't have the same kind of internet access that we do have. And Ju's asked a number, has asked if anyone's got any ideas on how we can host phone conferences so that people can receive calls, but without eating up all of their pay as you go SIM time, for example, or someone to donate a huge amount of already paid for SIMs. That would be a really exciting thing to happen. Josh is just writing on his screen, should we phone Ju and you come in on the phone? Okay, we're going to do that. FaceTime or phone? Right. So by the magic of modern technology.
And then hopefully
it might feedback if it does. Oh, oh.
Yeah.
I think that's your feedback, not ours.
Yeah, it's
There's a delay there. I'm not sure what happens here, but I think the reality is we press something off.
Yeah, it's
okay. Well, best laid plans there. I think just it's purely. If any of you have ever had done a radio phoning competition or a perhaps even been interviewed on the radio, they get really cross if you leave your radio on because it just creates what's called a feedback loop. So effectively on your phone, you speak into your phone and then it comes out the speaker that you're listening to and then goes back in the phone and then back out the speaker and goes round and round and round and round. And that's what's called a feedback loop. So not only do you get a full and comprehensive understanding of what folk in motion is, we also get
could do some
sound engineering, technical,
Yeah.
like it's like a TED talk, really, isn't it?
It is.
But I've got my TED here. He's still wearing his this TED talk, still wearing his winning medal. I just remember that now. It's now only 3-2 to the Newham Paralympic squad as opposed to the Birmingham Commonwealth squad. But hey, there is many weeks, I believe, for us to yet trounce you.
I'm quite excited about doing a TED talk. It's always been one of my kind of life goals is to do a TED talk at some point.
Okay, and Ju, this is fantastic. Really, this is one I prepared only just 13 seconds ago. Live internet TV. So Ju's holding up the website for Folk in Motion, and again, if you are not able to see that, the full address is folkinmotion.co.uk, which is folkinmotion.co.uk. Hopefully that's clear. And it is also on the Together website. Okay.
I'm gonna say this is the easiest game of either Hangman or Charades I've ever played. I think we should start acting out the next prompts just to keep it exciting. Let's see how it goes. So I think I'm gonna guess what Ju's writing, which is going to be about the Join In From Home program. Oh, absolutely flying around kind of the crafts and things that you can do from home. One of which is sock puppets, which you have on to hand.
I do. I have a sock puppet made by the very fair Mrs. Surgeonator.
So some of those are making kind of different sock puppets, which can be, if you have glue and things like that, or can sew, unlike me, you can kind of be extra creative with it. But it can be as simple as a white sock and a Sharpie or a felt tip pen, to be able to kind of create a face, and then you can kind of have endless fun really with kind of chatting to yourself, but with somebody else there, or kind of making videos or stories, and some other things in the program are around kind of making your own sound devices, or a kind of storage jar or night lights, and all of those are available on the Together website under the Join In From Home tab.
I mean, it can be as simple as putting your radio on and dancing a bit.
Yeah.
Picking up a pan and a wooden spoon, clapping your hands. Just really doing anything that kind of makes you feel like you're doing something. I mean, everyone laughs about people singing in the shower and doing stuff when nobody could see them. Well, here is your ideal opportunity to engage in doing something artistic when nobody's looking, because no one can actually see you. I mean, they can see us.
Yes, and if you don't want to kind of listen to the radio because you're going to listen to a specific type of music, or if you're trying to avoid the news, which I think at the moment is a completely understandable position to take. Under the joining from home tab, there's also Listen with Together, which has 3 playlists, five playlists, curated by the own Robin Surgeonator. So if you want to,
well, sorry, just to be absolutely clear, there are 2 classical playlists, which were created a couple of years ago with very specific remits on kind of calming influences and stuff like that. And there's a full list of those playlists. And as Josh just said, there are 3 what I've entitled Together playlists, or actually Angry Fish playlists on the website. But they are Together We Will Survive, Together Keep Calm and Chill Out, and Together We Are Stronger. 2 of those are kind of a general. One is a kind of, get involved, be happy, bit of a party side of stuff, celebratory. Then the Keep Calm and Chill Out is, much more about kind of if you are feeling a bit anxious. So it doesn't have to be at the end of the day for just chilling down. It can be actually you need to kind of, take a step back, a few deep breaths or whatever. Sometimes refocus. It's often in our lives at the moment, our lives prior to lockdown, we were all so busy. And as Jane Sampari said the other day, was, be slow, take it easy. Actually, it's really funny that this kind of gives us the opportunity to be still and not do anything, but be reflective. And that is different from usual, at least, but that kind of, the whole idea of well-being and mindfulness, a lot of it is about taking stock of your relationship with what's going on around you. And at the moment, that's not interrupted by planes flying over and police cars. Well, I guess where you are, there might be police cars, but
we had a military plane.
We did. But to the we don't live a million miles from the airport. But actually now we've had 1 plane over that I've noticed in the last 3 weeks. It was a military plane doing some practice.
Yeah, we live near the flight path or kind of approach path for Birmingham International Airport. So the RAF were, because nobody else was using it, I guess, were using it to practice kind of touch and goes and things where you kind of land and then don't land, and kind of halfway through landing just kind of floor it and then take off again. But they were practicing it in their kind of
very
huge,
large,
like kind of global transport plane. So it might only have been 1 plane, but I think it made up for the noise of about 10. But it was quite cool to see because they are huge things to kind of see flying around. It doesn't really make sense. The physics of it is a little bit kind of.
It's going to be nerdy.
I am nerdy. I can't help it. But yeah, no, you are right. It is. There's all these kind of stories that have been coming out around, kind of dolphins and various fish and things in the canals of Venice because they're clear for the first time in, however long, and the hole in the ozone's repairing itself, and honestly the situation we're in at the moment is really tough and terrible. But there are kind of little nuggets of positivity that maybe don't get kind of promoted as much as they should do in the news. The news is all kind of doom and gloom. But there are some happy things in the world at the moment. I think I saw a story a few weeks ago around kind of when working from home started, that a lady was really concerned because her dog was looking kind of a little bit glum, and she kind of took him to the vet, and he'd been kind of wagging his tail for ages, and then it suddenly stopped, and she was really concerned why. And she spoke to the vet, and the vet said that the dog had actually strained his tail, and he'd been so happy that his kind of owners were home all the time, working from home. In his excitement, he'd sprained his tail from wagging it too much, which is just wonderful. I thought that was a really, really kind of cute story. Well, we've got another one.
Yeah. Okay, so right on cue at 3:30, and with the miracles, the magic that is the internet, who knows, when we come back out of this film, we may have volume from London. However, I would now like to, on behalf of Together, introduce the next ACT UP film. ACT UP is a drama organisation based in Newham. Is a sister organisation, that's a good description, to Together 2012, and are one of the most consistent contributors. That'll do.
Contributors.
No, contributors.
Okay.
To.
You've broken me. I can't say it now.
Anyway,
either.
here it comes.
A year ago, we was in the show called Zara. Baby Eva is now 1 year old. We was worried she will be upset because she didn't want to stay at home because of the coronavirus.
Don't be sad, Eva. We are here for you.
Be happy. Stay home.
Learn how to walk into your little tiny steps.
Keep smiling.
Play with your toys.
And we wrote her this song.
Don't cry,
don't
cry.
Sweet baby Eva, don't cry.
Don't cry, don't cry. Don't cry, don't cry. Don't be scared. Don't cry.
Don't
cry,
don't
cry. It would be alright.
Go, music will make you smile.
Don't cry, don't cry. Close your tiny eyes. Don't cry, don't cry. Mama is by your side.
Don't
cry,
cry.
don't cry. Close your tiny eyes.
Okay, so brilliant. Another stunning piece of performance by ACT UP and engineered by Hannah. That's right, it is Hannah. Yes. Oh, thank goodness for that. I shouldn't. I mean, I've met her that many times, but you know, I'm getting older now. No, so but I mean, you know, it's not often that one can get more words in than Ju, and going to take this opportunity. Unfortunately, Julie, you can talk as much as you want now, and you're still not going to get in. But there you go. Okay, so we're going to now go to power. Hold on. With solidarity, there we go. Power. We're gonna now have a little chat about stuff you could be doing at the weekend.
Yeah, so way back when we kind of started the show 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks, 5 weeks. We kind of talked about things that were coming up. We talked around that kind of Channel 4 had announced a new slate of kind of lockdown shows. And one of the things that we kind of talked about was something called Grayson's Art Club, which actually started on Monday evening, which is it's hosted by Grayson Perry, who's an artist, but it involves kind of chats with other artists and other kind of creative people, and then he kind of brings celebrities on and just kind of members of the public if they then want to kind of submit their own work or be on the show. And kind of each week focuses on a different kind of style of art or a different kind of medium. So the first week was on portraits. I'm not sure what they're doing on next week's show because I haven't checked it out yet. But you want to talk a little bit more around kind of creativity during lockdown and things you can do over the weekend?
Yeah. I mean, interesting. Well, I think the important thing being that the Grayson Perry stuff is now for those who have it is available. You can watch it on More 4, is it?
All 4.
All 4. I'm not sure if that's a subscription one.
No, it's not. It is free.
Okay, great. And much to Josh's delight, they've also just released the entire history of the TV show Scrubs, which is it's a medical comedy. If that isn't what's the word for it? Juxtaposition, oxymoron. That's the one.
PhD student, mate.
Yeah. Oxy.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it is riotously funny and kind of extremely inappropriate, but it's also got a 12 rating, so it's not rudely inappropriate. It's just kind of taking the worst and best of what you think doctors and nurses might be and also get up to.
Yeah, and I think kind of the calling, the kind of the juxtaposition of a medical show and being a comedy, they kind of play into that a lot in the show. Not this is an advert for Scrubs, but it is one of my favourite shows. In that they do have emotional moments and serious moments and touch on those things, but they also have kind of weird and wacky kind of fantasy, dreams of all sorts of characters dressed up as Hitler from Star Wars and all sorts of things. Going back to the art club, I just looked it up on All 4 to see what the episode on Monday is about, and it is around the artwork of animals and kind of pets,
which goes nicely with some of our thoughts.
Yeah, which goes with some of the things. And Harry Hill, the comedian Harry Hill, is kind of one of the celebrity guests on Tuesday's show, so that would be quite interesting to have a watch.
Okay, I mean, so more about the stuff of joining in at home and something for the weekend. Over the last couple of shows, I've talked about the ideas of how I write poems, how I write songs, and I'd said that I would kind of see if there's some way of bringing in some ideas around kind of creative motivation. And certainly 2-3 weeks into lockdown, I was locked out of creativity. I just think, the kind of the cabin fever and the knowing that you can't go out whether you want to or not kind of mental pressures were really being quite oppressive to me. And I needed to find a way to get through that. And it took me back to when I was in my early 20s and was very unhappy in where I was, but I used to write down song titles or you're at work, you're not supposed to be writing poetry in song, unless you're a poetry songwriter, which I wasn't. I was an electronics technician at the time, but and it wasn't the most taxing of work, so my mind would wander. But what I would do, there is a point to all of this, is I would just come up. Sentences or titles would appear in my head, and I would just write them down. So I'd have a notebook and I'd have a stock, and this was way before mobile phones. So you did actually have to write down what you were thinking or have a really good memory. Which made me kind of, and I know, so bringing it right forward to the last couple of weeks, it's like, well, how am I going to do it? I need something to motivate me, something that's going to inspire me to write, or almost inspire me to want to write, and then to write. So I just started jotting things down again. I now have a number of poem stroke song titles without anything behind them yet, but they're there. So what I was thinking was, if and just an idea for anyone, not those who are already songwriters and poets, but that doesn't exclude them in any way. But set yourself an alarm or some way of reminding yourself, and every hour and a half, write down in a sentence how you're feeling. Do that for 48 hours. Don't get up in the night. Okay, you don't have to set your alarm during the night. But actually, you could over the next 2 or 3 days, if every hour or every couple of hours you write down how you're feeling, you've then created a piece of work. Doesn't have to rhyme. David Bowie famously wrote loads of things and then just kind of put them all together or threw them in the air, and randomly would stick sentences together to create lines in songs, and bizarrely they work. Not necessarily in delivering something you'd read but as songs and pieces of art, absolutely. So that was a kind of thought that I was having, and all you need is something that will write and something to write on, and if you need it, someone to write for you. And obviously you can use a phone or a tablet or whatever else, to digitally write it down.
Yeah, 100%. I think kind of what you're saying around the stuff that kind of David Bowie was doing, if you are, you sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write something today or create something today, and it's just not happening, which happens. Do that. Write down 10 things, 10 words, 10 thoughts, 10 ideas, 10 completely disconnected, the first random things that come to your head. Chuck them into the air, pick up 3, and then try and create something based on those 3. It's that kind of improv comedy idea of take an idea, yes, and run with it. If you are struggling to kind of create something out of nothing, force yourself to say, okay, I've got a banana, a tree, and a car. What story can I make out of this? Or give yourself a kind of a basis, a framework, and then flesh that out, and either kind of use that as your creative outlet for the day, or spend kind of 20 minutes, half an hour doing that, not thinking about something, and then who knows, you halfway through you might go, oh, this is a great idea, or some other kind of, it's always easier to think of something when you're not thinking about it. If you ever forget where your keys are, the more time you spend looking for your keys, the harder it is to find them. And then if you suddenly go and make a cup of tea, your keys appear on the table that you've checked 7 times. And I think kind of that's the approach that I take when I'm writing things, not necessarily in terms of poetry or artwork, but kind of essay writing and academic writing as a student. There's times where I will sit at my desk and have 100 ideas in my head of where I need to go or how I want to start the essay, but I can't get any of them down in some sort of coherent sentence, so I will take 15-20 minutes, go make a cup of tea, eat some biscuits.
Sorry, I was doing a bit of research then, just to prove that you can make a song out of almost anything that you can find. There's a Cure album, the band The Cure, I think it's a very, very one of their first albums, if not the first, and it's called Three Imaginary Boys. And there's a track on there called So What. And I remember this because, you know, the kind of things that you do is that if basically the lyrics are the instructions on the outside of a cake icing box. I mean, it does move on from there, but it does tell you what you know. It kind of uses the objects that then come up in it as tools for more thinking. But I mean, it's just, you know, it is literally, it starts off with cake icing and decorating set special offer, only £3.30, save £1.52. Literally reading what's on the outside of the box and putting it to music. So, you know, they were kind of yeah, I mean, people say, you know, art is in the eye of the beholder, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I love that song. I mean, and the lyrics become so much more than the words written on the outside of a icing box.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, other things for the weekend. I'm on flow now. You see, other things for the weekend. Is not to be forgotten is Ju's birthday. Darn it! I won't give the big secret away because that would just be unfair. But it is Ju's birthday tomorrow, so anyone not in the area, not in her house, and staying away and staying healthy, please enjoy a party on your own while Ju has a party. I think that's really important.
Yeah. And just happy 21st of June for tomorrow. No, I know we kind of talked a little bit on Monday or Wednesday around kind of YouTube channels and YouTube tutorials. There's a that's not how you say 21. You've written it wrong.
You've forgotten your numbers.
There's a for those of you that don't know who Adam Savage is, he started out as a model maker and prop maker for Industrial Light and Magic, working on Star Wars, and then kind of had a long-running series called Mythbusters. But he has a YouTube channel based at his workshop in San Francisco that has a number of things and tech things. One of the big kind of playlists is just videos of him making things in his shop. Everything from kind of small models that he's just kind of making out of things that he's got lying around through to, you know, kind of lathed versions of Excalibur. And if you are kind of able to make things and have those resources available, you can use it for inspiration. But it's also just really relaxing, kind of going back to what you were saying around kind of the chill out playlist earlier in the show. There's something kind of weirdly, not soothing, but just watching somebody really good at their job do their job. And you know, there is talking, and he does talk about, you know, kind of talk through what he's doing, but a lot of it is just him with a kind of mellow musical background, just making things. And yeah, it's kind of really, if you are looking for something to watch, you know, they range from kind of 10 minutes to an hour and a bit. If you are at home this weekend and kind of want something to just kind of put on and in the background, or put on and just kind of see what other people make, I think that's something that is kind of quite interesting and something that I've watched quite a lot of, and I keep trying to get him to watch, but I haven't kind of worn him down yet. But I'm hoping over the lockdown that at some point I will persuade him to sit down and watch it with me. Have you got any other suggestions for things to do over the weekend?
I'm just doing research on the fly here. As you mentioned, San Francisco is trying to find videos of people failing to go up or down Lombard Street in San Francisco. Lombard Street is the very famous switchback hill that appears in loads and loads of films, but there are all sorts of things of people trying to skateboard down it, and there's a great film, and I'm losing the plot of a guy riding the motorbike up Lombard Street in Centre.
Oh, I know exactly what film you're talking about, and I can't remember what it's called either. Julie, can you remember? No.
Oh, blonde-haired, very good-looking man. Mind you,
Me,
Hollywood actor.
I don't remember riding up Lombard Street though.
You were.
I can't ride a motorbike.
You were not even thought of at that point in time. I don't think.
A minute past 4, I can guarantee I remember the actor, the film, the scene, everything. As soon as the show finishes, you vamp and I'll frantically Google to see
Rutherford. Is it Robert Redford? Maybe. Anyway, riding a motorbike up the hill, and it's. I don't believe it's him. If it was Tom Cruise doing that film, he probably would actually ride that. Robert Redford, somebody Redford. I don't know, something like that. So we've kind of like talked a lot of pants, haven't we? It's interesting.
I mean, as well, we always do, to be honest.
Other things to do at the weekend. Yes, wheelie down Lombard Street. Have you done it? I have driven down it actually, and it is really steep. And something else that a lot of people have been doing. I mean, the due to our associations with the swimming world, there are lots of different sports organisations are doing their own kind of what to do to entertain yourself. So they're all, lots of people putting out swimming videos and exercise videos. So we're running our land sessions. We've also started what we've called our no pool swim sessions, called Swimulation. And that's trying to create exercises that use the same muscle groups and movements as you would actually do in the pool, rather than just doing straight kind of PE type exercises. But one of the things that a lot of people seem to be doing is cooking ideas. And again, for those of you who are able to kind of do stuff in the kitchen or instruct other people, I mean, most of the cooking in our house is, when I'm doing most of the cooking, I am purely the machine being instructed by Tracy on what to put in, when to put it in, how hard to stir it, how hard not to whisk it, whatever it is, and I dutifully enjoy my servience. But lots of things, we can all do silly things. Some, there are things out there, if you can get the ingredients, obviously, but they don't even have to be made hot. Peppermint creams is always the one I remember. You can make peppermint cream, which is a bit like peppermint icing and incredibly bad for you, I should imagine. However, really, really delicious. As it is basically sugar and mint in a block. But other stuff. Come up with some ideas, things to cook at home. We had. I would like to say. So this is the one occasion that I was allowed to let loose in the kitchen to make chicken curry. I accidentally poured in a pasta bake sauce, so we ended up with chicken and pasta bake, which was.
It wasn't bad.
This wasn't anticipated, and in fact we didn't have a curry.
You then salvaged yourself on Tuesday.
Oh yeah, recipes next week. We'll bring some people out there. I mean, we hoping that there are loads of you watching. And then, anybody who wants to send us in a recipe for something we could talk about, or make yourself a video, speed it up. Hopefully, Christmas Cake, it would be a really long film, but a great idea. Send in some of those recipes, simple things that you can do, and share. and then share it with yourself, obviously, but metaphorically share it on screen. That's what we were supposed to. That's what we're going to remember to do for the poetry next Wednesday. Is have cake, and tea to eat during.
Yeah, coffee and cake.
Yeah.
But there's just before you kind of play us out, as you normally do on a Friday, as it is 5 to 4. We just had a message. Speaking of your wife and my mother, just had a text from Mum who watches the show, to say well done to Ju and Julie for doing really well without any sound. But kind of on that note, if they want to, sorry about that. That's fine.
It's the coronavirus. We'll blame that.
Kind of a couple of ideas for the weekend, and we'll get the links put out as well, so people can kind of, if they want to follow any of the things that we've talked about. But kind of as is tradition, on a Friday, you're going to play us out.
Okay.
So before you do, I'll say a quick goodbye, and I hope to see you all back on Monday.
Brilliant. And for those who only join on as a Friday for any reason, we may not have a show next Friday because it's bank holiday. We won't. Okay, so wrong guitar. Trying to pick up the wrong guitar there. So on behalf of Ju and Julie, I'm going to say thank you very much for joining us, and I am going to attempt to play out with a tune. Okay, if I can focus. Sorry, it was tuned earlier. This is a song called Everything, which is normally done quite powerfully in electric guitars and drums and stuff. So I'm hoping it's going to come across. As I say, this is called Everything. Take a look around, see where your soul belongs, to focus your attention on, and know in your heart that your heart will be strong, and everything that will be alright. Know that in your mind, everything you find will have a perfect place to be, a liberty to love and love to be free, and know in your heart that everything that will be, yes, everything that will be alright. Only true love can deliver such an inner peace. If you found that sanctity, then swim in your serenity and show all the world that everything that will be, yes, everything that will be alright. Like a beacon of hope, let your love shine all around. Make a heart with your hands, let them know that you won't stand for war and all its crimes, and evil men with cruel minds. Go show everyone, sing out loud till your voice is gone, then take another breath and scream with all your might and make a scene. Don't be fooled, that good will out. Take a stance and fight for life. Fight the fight that shows us right, that everything will be alright. Will be alright. Now go show everyone, sing out loud your voice is gone, then take another breath and scream with all your might and make a scene. Don't be fooled that good will out. Take a stance and fight for life. Fight the fight, shows us right that everything that will be alright. Will be alright. That everything that will be alright. Thank you and have a great weekend.